Welcome back, everyone, to tbs eFM's 11th anniversary special, Live, Love, Life in Korea. Now, to mark this special occasion, we've invited expats who are not only living in Korea, but have also helped spread Korean culture through many different ways.
That's right. We've talked to an entrepreneur who's helping people all over the world learn Korean, and an honorary Seoul citizen who teaches kids through being a special foreign acting tourist.
That's right.
It's amazing. But now we've got to meet two expat artists, which as an artist, it's always got something special in my heart for them. I can't wait to hear their stories. We have a cartoon artist from Australia that we'll be talking to first, and then Logan, our rapper. But first, let's bring Nicola back into the conversation.
Hello.
Hello. You are married to a Korean.
Yes,
You
that
are
is
now
right.
you are now a multicultural family,
Yes.
a full family. And why don't we just get a little bit of background from you now? Because we're talking about what it's like to be a part of Korean culture and spread it inside the family. Are you finding any cultural clashes still today that are just kind of surprising you, or things that you've learned to deal with over the last couple of years?
Definitely. There's so many cultural differences all the time, and they can range from things like, like deep personal beliefs to things like the size of bath towels. Like, how Koreans have very small towels?
Yes, we're very efficient with our
Yes,
towels.
But you can't wrap them around you.
I like the bath, like they're called the shower towels that are like shower like blankets or something.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
The really big ones. Bath sheets, I think they're called.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
But usually we like to use the hand towels for everything.
For everything.
Yes.
And I have, in Western culture, we have like the hand towel. So after you've dried your hands, my husband will then use that as his bath towel. And I'll be like, that is the hand towel. So I'm just saying the very amusing things, because of course there's some very deep cultural clashes that can come about, but as an intercultural couple you have to work on them all the time. And we met a couple that had been together for over 20 years recently. Wow. And she's Korean and her husband is from the Middle East, I think, and they said that even now there's still things that surprise them. So they said there's so many things that you just accept and move on. So, and they're still very happy. So
And it's a great source for your cartoons, right? Because
That's
you talk
right.
about your Korean husband in your cartoons
Yeah.
and your YouTube videos as well.
yeah, so I started the blog in 2012 making comics about our intercultural life together, and we have a YouTube channel as well. And a lot of the time people talk about cultural differences in a really negative way, or intercultural relationships in such a negative way. Oh, it's too hard, oh, they get divorced all the time. You can marry and divorce somebody that you knew your whole life and
Absolutely.
lived next door to. It's much more about what you do in the marriage and how you make it work. And I wanted to show things that are cultural clashes, but in a really funny way, and make people think about their own culture, because often we don't think about our own culture that much unless we go to another country and we see cultural differences. As humans, we have this default thinking that our culture is just the way that things are done. And when you move to another country or you marry someone from a different culture, you start to think about what your identity is and what your culture is.
Right. I was just wondering, for our other guests, and even you, Alex, you've all been in Korea for a while now. I know you're not married, but have you been in relationships with Korean people, and have you also come across those cultural clashes while you're dating? Alex?
Yeah.
Alex.
Would you like to share?
Let me be careful with what I share on radio. I will say, though, something that Nicola just mentioned about what the other couple said is, I think one of the things I noticed is there are things that just you cannot get over. It's what you were taught growing up your entire life. And so you can either unlearn 30 years of your life and say, well, I'm just going to use small towels for the rest of my life. Or you can just accept that it is a difference and say, this is not what defines our relationship. So I've noticed plenty of cultural differences. I have a couple ring on right now. So
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
Talk about that later.
It's not a wedding ring, right? You said?
It is not a wedding ring.
Okay.
So that is very not American. Anyone else have any experiences so it's not just me?
Jump in. Kwan, Logan, Tanya, any experience dating a Korean and any cultural clash?
Well, actually, this is my ex-Korean girlfriend's shirt that I'm wearing.
Why do you still
Do you
have
want to
it?
say hello to her?
It's
No,
a
that's
cool,
okay.
it's
What's
a cool
up?
shirt. It's
I would say the hardest thing for me was maybe not this way, but Korean women really like to text all the time.
Yep.
밥 먹었어?
Communication is important
Yeah, and it's
in
like-
any
All the time.
relationship, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
My husband did this to me when we were first dating. He would send me so many messages, and I just snapped one day and I said, "Can you stop messaging me all the time? You know, it's not giving me any time or room to sort of like, you know, desire or like, you know, want you." And so he didn't message me for a whole day, and then I was like, hello. I messaged back because he hadn't contacted me for a while, and then so he then realised that Australian girls are a little bit more laid back about that.
Absolutely.
But he was just acting what was normal in his culture, that a woman would want to be messaged 1,000,000 times a day.
well, that's a good way that now your cartoons can sort of, I'll say, prepare somebody who may
Yes.
end up dating someone from a different culture. If they're curious and they might have a Korean boyfriend or girlfriend at some point, that's a good warning to be like,
Yes.
this is what's going to happen. So you
Yeah.
are able to kind of spread that message a little bit.
Yeah, and definitely I've had people say that. They said that, you know, they've been in Korea at university or something and hadn't dated a Korean, and they started dating, and then they were like, "Oh, Nicola talked about this in a video or a
Yes,
comic."
yes.
So they could be much more understanding right away. I think that's a really big learning point in intercultural relationships,
Mhm.
is to be understanding. You can't just be defensive right away when there is a cultural clash.
And I imagine, Logan, this sort of cultural difference also serves as inspiration for when you're writing rap as well.
Yes,
Does
it does.
it? Like your
Coincidentally,
new
break
single,
up with
right?
ex-girlfriend, start rapper career.
Really?
That's usually how
There you go.
You know, you have something to sing about now, I guess. Is that how that works?
Something like that. Yeah.
Did that inspire your new single then, 대한민국 Style?
Not that exactly.
Not that
Not
much.
exactly
Okay.
that. So you are rapping in Korean for a Korean audience, right?
Right.
And so how is that different than, let's say, an American audience? Besides the language itself, are you finding differences in the rap communities, say between in the U.S., in Alabama, if there's a rap community there, or in Seoul?
I would say the biggest difference is in America, well, hip hop, I wouldn't say just rap, but hip hop is a lot more mainstream. Right? Like if you look at the top 100 charts, there's going to be 5 or 6 rap songs in the top 20, right?
Mhm.
But if you look in Korea, you look at the top 100 chart and there may be one hip hop song just because it's all K-pop, girl groups, boy bands, like that kind of thing. So I think hip hop in Korea is still on its way up right now. It hasn't reached its climax yet.
I think it's difficult enough to sing in Korean, but then to rap in Korean. How do you do this, or how did you even get the idea of starting this?
So it's quite difficult. If there's a part that I need to do in English and I'm recording, maybe it will take me 10 minutes to do one part. Maybe if I'm doing it in Korean, it could take 20 minutes. It could take 2 hours. So honestly, the hardest part about rapping in Korean is the difference in English and Korean. In English, when you like your consonants, you're worried about if this is like vibrating or not.
Mhm.
But in Korean, it's all about how much air is coming out of your mouth. So like
Air.
you're right.
So it's half air and half sound, kind of?
Yeah, and like Koreans, like if your larynx is vibrating or not, they don't really notice that. It's just about if it's ka, ga, or ka, like that kind
I
of thing.
see.
So.
And of course, like even just rhyme schemes must be completely different since you've got a system that is based on endings all sounding the same, endings of sentences.
So yeah, it makes it much easier in Korean. And that's,
It actually makes it easier.
yeah, because if something ends in 했지,
Ah,
뭐지, 뭐지, so in that way, it's a little bit easier than in English.
Okay, dumb question. Do you rap in Panmal or 존댓말? How do rappers rap? Is it formal or informal?
It's very informal.
Informal,
And
got
actually,
it.
I've made that mistake a few times just because like I'm so used to rapping informally, then like when I'm talking to the audience, it can get a little bit uncomfortable.
yes. I mean,
Yeah.
if you rapped in 존댓말, it would all be yo or ta.
Yeah.
Again,
Like,
it'd
well, in that
be
case, I guess it
easier.
could work out. And then I say yo.
Yeah.
Da.
I thought it was interesting because the first time I got experienced a Korean rap live, it's like hardcore. They're killing it. They're angry. It comes up and they're just very polite at the end of the performance, really respectful to the audience. I thought that was really interesting.
Have you thought about maybe like entering into a Korean sort of rapping contest? Because we've got a lot of them. This rapping culture here in Korea is getting big. And you
Right.
stand out, Logan.
Thank you. Actually, I do want to go like to some of these rap shows. It's just I only got here 3 weeks ago, so I'm waiting for them to start back next year.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is your big chance, you know. You could show us a little bit of what you got, and, you know, the phones might be ringing after.
Well, I didn't prepare anything, but if you should, I guess.
Well, I haven't prepared anything, but I've got a couple of songs on my sleeves. We've set up some cameras for our YouTube that we're going to be putting up later.
Exactly, because you do some cover songs as well, right?
Right.
And I understand that one of your covers is Tamo by a lot of people here. Swings, Kid Midley, Mad Clown featuring PH1, is that how you say it?
PH1 and Gumta, yeah.
All right. Should we hear a little bit of that?
I think we should
Sure.
definitely take a listen.
Sure.
Let's do it. All right, this is going to be exciting.
위험 사이렌이 울리면 나를 숨겨주던 여자가 있지 위험 바로 발가르면 내 붕대를 감아준 여자가 있지 아무리 난 돈을 쓸어 담아도 널 생각해 난 담아두지 다른 여자들 날 감아도 난 너를 생각하지 yeah 아무리 난 돈을 쓸어 담아도 널 생각해 난 담아두지 다른 여자들 날 감아도 난 너를 생각하지 형보다 사고 yeah 너는 말해 래퍼들은 다 같은 얘기해 Justin Bieber moving 하늘 전 세계 man 너는 말해 래퍼들은 다 같은 얘기해 멀리 다녔어 너가 내 곁에 항상 이 순간만 난 같았어 너에게 빠져 살아 너무 하였어 우리 잡은 상황 완전히 달라 why we up 힘없지만 I got 다음에서 만약 전부 다 너에게 춤을 춰주려는 거든 가진 게 없을 때 줄 수 있었던 게 사랑뿐이라서 나 I was wrong 그건 나의 법 진짜 원해 나를 love 진짜 원해 나를 다 아무리 쓰러져도 너만을 기다려 나는 눈 뜨고 수많은 밤을 그래서 내 눈이 빨개 이런 내 모습을 봐야 돼넌 티내고 싶어서 빨리 바꿨지 프로파일 사진 사랑팀 메시지 또 바꿨네 이 또한 사진 I got it Why am I like this 이 세상 우리는 아직 할 일이 너무나 많지 눈으로 확인해 줄래 글쎄 많이 올라버린 이름같이 You my boo-boo I'ma go cop that new 필요한 게 있으면 말해봐 나한테 주문 Okay 다시 나 받아줘 네 남친 삼아줘 I got my pride is on 빨리 날 안아줘 Yeah Hug me till my body break 너가 이상하게 보고 싶다 그래 난 마치 위험 사이렌이 울리면 나를 숨겨주던 여자가 있지 위험 바로 발가르면 내 붕대 감아준 여자가 있지 아무리 난 돈을 쓸어 담아도 널 생각해 난 담아두지 다른 여자들 날 감아도 난 너를 생각하지 yeah 아무리 난 돈을 쓸어 담아도 널 생각해 난 담아두지 다른 여자들 날 감아도 난 너를 생각하지 Okay
That was something I've never seen in a live radio or in a radio show. Like that was cool. You are cooler than I
How's your
am.
throat, Logan?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That is-
Sorry, it was a little bit huskier than usual.
Sounds
but, I
great.
guess that's what happens. So.
You have to come back on the show when you have your normal voice, though.
That sounds good. That sounds good. That's the
Great.
plan.
Yeah, so really, that was amazing to watch. I get it now. I see it. You've got the energy. You've got kind of that. How are the Korean audiences receptive to that? How are they taking it, whether it's online or in real life?
Well, right now, on YouTube, I have about 16,000 subscribers, so it's not a lot. But out of all of those, 97% are all Korean.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's pretty good. Yeah.
After this, Logan, it's going to be shooting
Oh,
through the
yeah.
roof.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you have a new single out too, right?
I
What
do.
we
It's a-
mentioned,
yeah.
Miguk style.
Yep.
Is it
Taehan.
kind of like Gangnam style? Can we look forward to anything with a catchy dance? Or
Not at
No
all.
dancing.
But the,
Oh,
name, the name
no.
is similar
Rappers
enough.
don't dance. Come on, we know this. They just.
He danced before, didn't he?
It's a different style of dance.
So it's completely different?
Yeah, actually, so in American hip hop, originally hip hop is about like bringing yourself to your music, right? It's about your story, your life. It's not about like, oh, fast cars, money, that kind of thing. So with this song, I really tried to bring like an American style of, this is my Korean experience. This is the Korean culture that I experienced. And that's what the song is about. So
Interesting. Okay, so I hope that's getting a lot of play and interest online.
it's doing okay. It's not bad.
All right.
What's that like writing a song with Korean lyrics too? Does that take some time?
So, yeah, actually, it is quite a bit tougher. So I used to be in a band, so I've written English lyrics before, but writing Korean, first of all, my Korean's not perfect. So usually the process is sit down for a few hours, try to write some clear Korean lyrics, and then send it to a friend, and he'll correct everything and make sure everything's perfect, or if something doesn't make sense, and he'll send it back to me. And then it won't rhyme anymore, so I'll write some new lyrics and send it back to him until eventually we figure something out. But yeah.
Just wondering, do all of our guests enjoy listening to, I don't know, Korean rap, or is it more K-pop? Is it Twice? Is it Blackpink? You know, you can.
First generation, second generation K-pop?
What kind of music do you like listening to here?
Yeah, probably second generation K-pop. But as I mentioned before, mostly kid songs for me. But
Right.
I do like a lot of K-pop. But I'm just not with it anymore.
That's
It's hard
why
to keep track.
I get it, because when you get busy, especially of course you have a family, so it's busier than I am, but you lose track and you're stuck with when you first came to Korea.
Yeah.
Second generation was there. What about you, Kwan?
I love Korean music, and recently I've been a lot more into K-hip hop. There are so many great artists these days. One of my recent favorite is One.
Mhm.
He used to be a YG artist, and now he has kind of like a private label he's working with. But I think it's a testament to just the, I guess, forward-thinking sensibility of Korean music, because right now in the U.S. they're featuring a show now. I recently on Netflix I saw a show called Rhythm and Flow, and it's a show for a lot of these up-and-coming hip-hop rapper artists to really showcase their talents. But Korea has been doing that for the past 5-6 years already.
Sure.
So they're way ahead of the game in terms of the hip-hop talent and the competitions. And it just shows you that there's a lot of interest in K-hip-hop, even though it's a little bit underground, it's becoming more mainstream, like Logan said. So I think that kind of music is really inspiring. I also love just the old school. I went to a K-pop hip-hop festival a few years ago, and I saw Dean.
What do you mean old school?
Well, they're not old school. They're not old school. There was
young
that-
people like
sorry.
you that
He's
is
27. He's 27.
There's also AOMG. It's a really great label as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Logan, are there any sort of rappers that you looked up to here in Korea as well who inspired your music?
So my favorite rapper in Korea right now is PH1. And the reason I like him is, like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of Korean rappers these days talking about, I got a bit nice car, I got lots of money, I got
Flex.
10 houses, yeah. But PH1, all of his lyrics are all about like things that, like real life things that anybody can relate to. And the other rapper that I really enjoy listening to is called Changmo. And I was talking about earlier about Korean, it's about like how much air is coming out of your mouth, right? And the way he writes his lyrics, it almost sounds like a machine gun, the way he raps. It's like it really sounds, but it's in such a way that it's like art. It's really amazing. I haven't heard any other Korean do anything like that. So those are my two favorites.
Tanya, I know that you're more into the classical type of music, but are there any K-pop artists that you're into as well?
Well, I enjoy Korean music because I don't memorize very well their names. Kids are always around me, like telling me, "Oh, this one is the famous one. Please listen to." I like dancing the K-pop and hip hop music, dancing. So I will enjoy dancing and listening to all the good music that appears and spreads in Korea right now.
I found that really interesting, thinking about how Korean culture spread. One of the ways that something can spread without knowledge of language is through dance. And knowing that a few of us are here in the YouTube community as well, but like just seeing people teaching dance overseas, and people in America, in Europe, in South America, learning the dance moves, I think is one of the ways that a lot of my friends who came here recently really got into Korean culture. So like you mentioned, like the dancing is just
Exactly. Yes.
The
Before
breakdancing,
coming to
right?
Korea, the Gangnam Style. Well, I
break
learned all the
oh my
whole
gosh.
dance.
I remember 2005 to 9. That was the heyday of Korean breakdancing. They were winning all the international competitions. So Korea's subcultures did amazing in different parts of the world, and it was really K-pop that ended up bringing the subcultures up to a more popular area in the end.
I was just wondering, once you get into Korea and then you go back to your own countries, or even in Korea sometimes, do you sometimes fear that feel that, oh my God, I'm so Korean, you know? Do you ever have that, especially when you go home, like a reverse culture shock? After you've been here immersed in Korean food, Korean culture, listening to Korean music, speaking Korean, do you go home and, find yourself speaking Korean? Anything like that?
Yeah, definitely the first time I went back to Australia. I'd been in Korea for over a year and I went into a bakery. And in Korea, there's not much small talk when you're buying something. It's just, this is what you're doing. And the woman was like, hey, how are you going?
Right.
And I'm like,
How you going? It
oh,
means
that's Australian slang,
for
sorry.
how you doing?
Yeah, how are you doing? So what are you up to today? I'm like, why are you asking me this? Why do I have to talk to you?
I remember when I went to Canada, and especially Vancouver, not so much the East Coast, but in Vancouver, they all smile at you and they say, hey, when you're passing them on the street. I'm like, hey, hi, do I know you? Hello, hi.
Talk about the weather. It's like you're stuck at a
They're
traffic
just
light
so friendly.
next to someone about to cross the street. You talk to someone.
Apparently, yes.
That's what
One
I
funny
used to do.
story is like it changed deeply my manners. First of all, because I got into a conference and I had the chance to meet a very American scholar, and my professor introduced us, and he was holding hands, like for shaking hand, and I was made a deep bow.
Oh, yeah.
And then the man was still
He still had his hand out?
with a hand. I was like, oh yes, I'm very glad to meet you. But it was a shock for me because I realized how deep Korean culture changed me, and also while being in my country and trying also to buy something, I will hold the money with my both hands.
I do that,
And
yes.
there's
Me too.
what you're doing. It's like, why
Yeah.
two hands?
It doesn't stop.
That looked awkward,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, that's the Korean style. I want to be polite. I want to show politeness.
Kwan, you have an
Aside from the
experience?
mannerisms, like I've also picked up just like I feel spoiled being in Korea because when I get back, I expect my panchan right on the desk when I go into
Your
the
side
restaurant.
dishes,
The side dishes, exactly.
and for free.
And for free,
right.
no tipping,
Fillable.
no tipping. Like water, you can just self-serve. 24/7 convenience stores and cafes. You don't have that in Florida when you it's closed at 10 and you just
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And just the subway station too. I feel so spoiled here. So when I get back, I have to try to really realize that you're American. There's certain things that you have to just can't take for granted anymore.
That's right.
You know.
Convenience store is a misnomer in America. It is not
It's not
convenient.
convenient.
No. It is. It closes. They close.
You should be open at least 12 hours a day. Right. But aren't there some things that you wish you could bring back home to Korea? You know, from home back to Korea, kind of introduce reverse as well. Because sometimes, I kind of enjoy the slower pace of life as well. Everything in Korea is bali, everything is fast-paced. I wanted it yesterday, not now. Do you feel that?
Definitely Australian breakfast culture. So cafes in Australia will shut very early, sometimes like 3:30, but they open at 7 and you just go have your breakfast there. And that's something I miss, especially because I have a toddler that wakes up very early. I think I would love to go to a cafe right now and just have some avocado toast. So I think that's something Korea could start to do. There's 24-hour cafes, but they're not, in the local neighborhoods. So if we had the early morning culture sometimes, I think would be nice as well. I only say that because I'm a parent now.
It's surprising because I thought we had that early morning. We never sleep because we never sleep here.
Yeah,
in
but a
Korea.
lot of cafes don't open till 11 a.m.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
Yeah, I would say, speaking to what she said earlier about this kind of like small talk, I actually wish that would come back. Or that would come to Korea. Like, I'm from Alabama, which is the South, so there's this thing called Southern hospitality. No matter where you go, it's like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Well, last car, where'd you get it? And it's kind of nice to be able to talk to people casually. But here, it's like, you can't talk to anybody on the street without them going, oh,
Yeah.
what? No matter who it is. So that part, it's a little bit, if it was a little bit more casual, I think it'd be nice.
I think people struggle with small talk here. Even when I call up my friends sometimes, they're like, so what's your point? Why 용건이 뭐야? Why did you call me? Get to the point. So I think we're very efficient, or we're kind of focused too much on efficiency sometimes.
Yeah, no, I definitely do that. I call my friends and they're like, "Why? What do you want from me?" Like, friendship? I don't know what to say. It's definitely changing. I think what's cool about that, in the way you brought the question out, it's the cultures are exchanging culture, like they're changing with each other. So it's not just Korea going out to the world. It is a little bit of America or Australia or Moldova coming to Korea. And I think that's what's making Korea interesting, what's going to be changing in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. And the more influence we get from the expats who are continuing to come into Korea and make their mark here in Korea, I think we'll see more of those changes as well. We've had an opportunity to meet our guests in more detail through our talk on our 11th anniversary special, Live, Love, Life here in Korea. Already, we've come to the close of our first hour, but hopefully our listeners will stick around because we have a lot more in store in our second hour.
That's right. We've got another music performance coming up, but our guests here are not leaving as well, so make sure to stay tuned for another great hour here, tbs eFM. But to lead us out, let's do some more K-pop, shall we?
Yay!
Let's go with BTS
Yay!
featuring Love. This is Make It Right.